real success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the Hitstreak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and check it out, folks. I've got a real treat for you in the Hit Lab with me today. It's actually his second time back on the Hitstreak. First time in the studio with me today. Last time we did it virtual, but I had to bring him back because we had some unfinished business. All right, so folks, help me welcome a founding member of the Brand Builders Group right here in Nashville, Jeremy Weber. How we doing, baby?
Man, it's so good to be with you. And again, like you said, it had to be official. I had to get the full experience in the studio, my man. So it's so good to be with you again.
Boom. That's right. Well, we're talking about some unfinished business. For me, it's really just like a lot of the journey I've learned working with you guys for the last over a year, where like all this opportunity that I was missing for so long has never been more relevant. And then I'm kind of seeing a lot of shifts in the market where this is way more top of mind. And man, it's just really important that people pick the right coaches or sources to learn and grow their stuff, right? So I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It seems like personal branding has become a hotter and hotter topic, right? It's like kind of the trendy thing to talk about. Everybody wants to be building their personal brand or be a coach to help people build their personal brand. So it's kind of hot. It's kind of trendy. But I think, like you said, we need to set the record straight, kind of some unfinished business about, what are best practices to actually do it right so people can be successful with building their personal brand. And more specifically, like what are the characteristics of things people need to look into, be aware of when choosing who they work with or who they partner with to actually get help doing this, right? Because a lot of people want to say, yeah, I'm an expert at this, but if you maybe pull back the curtains, a little bit, it's like there might be some red flags. So I'm excited to just dive in. We're going to do our best to provide a little bit of backstory, a little context, but get into some tactics, right? Like to kind of show a little bit about what we do, how we do it as a company that focuses day in and day out on helping people have bigger impact and build a personal brand that's influential. So I'm excited to dive in with you, brother.
Well, one of the things that I've loved about you guys, when you're pairing your clients to their strategists, one of the things that I believe it came from Brand Builders, and I heard Ed Mylett quote it at a Brand Builders event, and but he said the person that you're most the person that you're most subject to help, or the best to help, is the person that you used to be, right?
Yeah.
So
we like to, and you're close. It's like you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were, the person you used to be, right? And there's so much truth in that. Just because why? Like if you unpack that why, it's like, well, yeah, you know your journey. You know the struggle of your past, right? You know how you broke free from that and got to a better place. So who better to be able to help somebody that's on a similar path than you, because you know what it looks like, right? But I think more intentionally, it's like being intentional and very tactical about how you scale up serving people like that are in the early stages of the journey you've been on, and to help them get to that destination where you're at as quickly and efficiently as possible. That's really where the business tactics, the personal brand tactics come in. And I love what we do so much simply because, if you look at that, like Nick, you're well positioned to help a lot of people, right? That you are on a similar track as you. But if you don't capitalize on that opportunity, if you don't take it seriously, if you don't have a real business, a real strategy around how to do that efficiently and effectively, there's tons of people out there that are going to struggle, right? They're not going to know about you for various reasons, or they're not going to get the help in the most efficient way. And again, those are lives, those are individuals that need your help, can be impacted in a positive way by you, but they won't get that help. So I think that's really what it's about at the end of the day, is helping people that are really great at different things help more people, right? Like helping great people help more people and have a big positive impact on this world. And that's why what we do is so rewarding, and who we get to work with, it's an honor and a privilege. So it doesn't feel like work, which is what we all want to be in, right? That position.
That's right. Well, let's go on ahead and talk a little bit about your backstory, because you've recently been telling a little bit of that, and it's pretty awesome to see. And even though I've known you 20 years, I've learned by paying attention to those things, and working with you on a regular basis. It just brought everything together. Like, it was already really good, and then as if it couldn't get any better, it did, right? So let's tell the folks a little bit about your backstory and your journey, and kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, man. It's so interesting until I actually started being more intentional about reaching more people, right? Different people inside Brand Builders Group, even though we help clients build their personal brand and have bigger reach and bigger platforms and serve more people, like, we're practitioners of what we preach too. That's a mechanism to drive growth of our company too, just like we're helping our clients do. And until I really started, just here within the last 3 months or so, started getting more intentional about reaching more people and really building my personal brand. Some of how my past, all the way back to the beginning of my career right out of college, some of how that directly translates to what I do now was not clear, right? I always thought like I had a different career and it was totally different than this. And man, how did I end up where I'm at? But as I started really thinking through my story, it became clear that while I've only been doing personal branding as a profession since we started Brand Builders Group about 5 years ago, I've really been practicing different elements of what we preach and what we help our clients do for almost 20 years now, right? That's what's been pretty cool. So throwing it all the way back, I don't know how far we want to go back, but it's like, I'm going to admit, Nick, I was a nerd. I was a nerd back in the day, and still am, kind of to a certain extent. But what's cool is I was a nerd, but I was a jock too. You and I both played a lot of sports growing up, and at the high level, I played college soccer. So it's kind of a jock and a nerd. So I don't know what you call that.
At a D1 school, right?
Yeah. Western Kentucky University. Go Hilltoppers. You may know Big Red, right? The mascot. He shows up in random places, right? But yeah, so played at a pretty high level. But the reason I say I was a nerd is because I studied computer science in school. Pretty early on, I knew that I was passionate about technology. I believed in it, and I was hyper-focused. I wanted to be really great at this special type of technologies, location-based technology. We all know mapping technology. I'm sure you have a nav system. You have Google Maps on your phone, or you have it in your car or whatever, navigating around. So that specific aspect of technology was something I was super passionate about, and I was hyper-focused on just being great at it, right? And so I studied computer science, and I studied this location-based technology in college. So again, I was kind of a nerd, right? But what was interesting early in my career, which straight out of college, I actually went into the public sector. I don't know how much of this you actually know about me, but yeah, I started working for the state of Tennessee. So I was in state government, right? And so
it was a very traditional, kind of safe path.
Oh, absolutely. And so, but again, I was super passionate about what I did and was really good at it because I was very disciplined, very focused. But I quickly, early on in my career, realized that there were people that were better at the technology than me. They were more nerdy or whatever you want to call it, right? But I had something that they didn't have, and that was the ability to take these complex topics, right, and effectively communicate them with non-technical people, bridge that gap. I was a good communicator.
Yeah.
And so pretty early on, that set me on a little different trajectory where I wasn't just going to be somebody that programmed all the time or did kind of complex technical things. I was going to be an advocate for the technology. And so basically what happened was I pivoted into a position where I was out talking, right? I was out speaking about the latest trends in this technology, things people needed to be aware of, how it can impact their organization. And the fuel of that was, again, the fact that I had amazing results. I was really good. I knew what I was talking about. And I think we all know there's so many people out there that have big megaphones, they got big platforms, and if you dig deep, they may not really know what they're talking about, right? Yeah. And so at the core of it is like I had spent the time, I'd put the work in, I knew what I was talking about, but I was more passionate about advocating for that technology. And so that led me down this path of being a well-known kind of thought leader in that industry, speaking at conferences, kind of getting out and delivering talks in a variety of fashions, leading a big team, until I hit kind of my first big, there's like points in the careers of businesses or kind of the trajectory of a business where there's these inflection points, like key things that change. It was in June of 2006, right? This was the first big kind of like wake up call for me, still in the state government setting.
How long had you been out of school and in the workforce at this time?
A couple years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so again, very much still in the tech, but starting to more advocate for it and talk about it and lead teams versus just being a technical person, right? And so I had a team of about 30 people. I was kind of an assistant director of a state government agency, so kind of moving up this career ladder pretty quick. And I'll never forget this date because it was June 2006. And you'll know this. You guys were around. I'll never forget it for two reasons. One is that's when I got married, so Jane and I got married. But number two is instead of going on a honeymoon, which most people do right after their wedding, right? I had surgery. I had surgery because I had kind of felt a lump. We won't get into too many of the details, right? But basically I had felt something that didn't feel right. And I was like, man, I need to get this checked out. And so instead of going on a honeymoon, this was right after our wedding, like literally the week after our ceremony. I had surgery done and turns out I had cancer, right? And that was like, boom. Like you think you got things rough, right? You think life is hard, or you think, man, I'm not where I want to be. And then something hits that's like, you might die.
Yeah.
So that was this first big point in my career that was like, hey, I got to fight for my life now, right? There's a lot of things that are important, but I'm fighting for my life first and foremost. That led me on like about a year path of chemo and different things, and thank the Lord that, been cancer-free since then.
Yeah.
But that was this wake-up call. And I say it was a wake-up call for a variety of reasons, but I had been feeling inside that state government setting that there was more, right? Yeah. Like I was meant to do something more. And it wasn't that I couldn't have had a big impact and done great work in that setting. There's tons of people that stay in the public sector and do great work, right?
Right.
But for me, I felt like there was something more. And I'd already been venturing down that path, speaking and getting out there more. But I basically saw an opportunity in the market where there was a gap in some technology because I was so deep in this tech and was really disciplined and focused. And I'll remember there's a night at home where I was in the home office and I basically was said, look, I think there's an opportunity to develop some software and kind of take this first step down an entrepreneurial path. Should I do it or should I not do it? And I think dealing with my cancer and kind of a lot of these things, it was like, you got one life to live. And the last thing I'll never forget this. The last thing I want to do is look back 5-10 years from now and be like, what if, right? What if? And that's where I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it and we'll see what happens. And so that started, I was very ethical about it. I had my full-time job at the state, was kind of doing that all day during the day, but about every night I'd come home, eat dinner with Jane. We didn't have a kid at the time, right? And I'd go up to the office and was coding and was just building out this software. And that set me down this path of bringing my own company to the market, my own software to the market, licensing that. And then eventually, because I was well known in the industry, I had been out talking, advocating for the latest trends, doing innovative stuff, and people in the industry knew me to be an expert. I had a well-known, influential personal brand in this space that led me down this path to a company that was the primary user of my technology wanting to acquire the tech, acquire my business. And as part of that acquisition, I exited my public sector job and came on as a partner inside this private sector company. But my journey continued. I remained somebody that was great at the tech, but was out advocating for it and talking about it. And that's what opened up the opportunity for me to exit from public sector to private sector. It's what opened up the opportunity for me to sell the technology in my business because I was well known. I was respected and the right people knew about me, and that opened up those opportunities, right? So while I wasn't trying to build my personal brand back in those days, I was very much doing a lot of the fundamental things that are required to take your knowledge that you're an expert at and share it with more people, and do it in a way that recognition and that awareness opens up opportunities and helps drive growth of your career, helps drive growth of your business, helps you serve more people, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really cool. Like, so again, looking back on this now, I was like, wow, I wasn't trying to build my personal brand, but again, I was, and that's what opened up these opportunities. And I got to see firsthand really the power 20 years ago, 15 years ago of building an influential personal brand. And all that led to a lot of cool things. But, one of the highlights was, really me sitting on the advisory board for a multi-billion-dollar tech company, me getting to speak in front of, an audience of 15,000 people at the San Diego Convention Center, right? Like, I mean, those are things but what's so interesting, Nick, and I just want to, I know I'm talking a lot here, so.
It's awesome. Keep on.
So, what's so interesting is somebody may look at me now and be like, man, this guy, I checked him. He's on the Hitstreak. Like, it's a big podcast. Let me check him out. Like, man, he doesn't have many followers, like on Instagram or whatever. But it's like, I think so many people associate a personal brand with a social media strategy or a big social media following.
That's a fact.
Dude, you can buy followers. Half these people that have big followings, they either paid for them or they drove paid traffic to really accelerate growth of getting their organic content in front of more people that gets more followers, et cetera. So straight up buying followers is not good. Running paid traffic to reach more people on these platforms is okay. But the reality is, like, that's a vanity metric, right? At the end of the day, what you should be looking at is, what is the track record of this individual when it comes to building a successful business, serving a ton of people, having big impact in whatever area it is, not so much their social media following. And that's what's been cool about my journey is, I've been able to build my personal brand in a lot of offline ways, right? Which is generally the fastest path to reach people is your offline network and not competing with everybody and all the noise online, right? But I've been able to use my personal brand and my offline network and speaking at big events to reach a lot of people and drive growth of multiple businesses, sell businesses, et cetera. So that's been pretty cool, man. So yeah.
Well, so if you can't tell, folks, I'm really passionate about this. I'm fired up today, right? So, check it out. In the years that my wife and I were helping entrepreneurs and agents launch their businesses and agencies, one of the most common things we heard, it was almost like it was the easiest way to describe it is, having kids, you plan for those things, but you don't plan for those things. It's out of your control, right? The things that have to happen to have children, but again, it's on God's time. And a lot of people are waiting to take that leap when everything's in order and it's the perfect timing to do so. And you never have that. It was so important for you to tell your story, because how many people are going through a circumstance that's scary? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where literally one of the scariest things I could imagine is as a spouse, if something could be wrong, life-threatening to my partner, my life partner, my wife. And for that to happen right after a wedding, even having your child was not an easy thing. It came with some complications, right? So life's complicated. So we just got to get over that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're here for a calling, to serve a calling. And, man, maybe the best time to do that is when your circumstances are at their worst. For me, it was. right? For me, it was everything that I did is because I almost waited till like I was forced to do so. And that was a bad habit to be in. It's like your back's against the wall all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's those uncomfortable situations that wake you up to something like life is short, right? Or whatever it may be. I may not get another chance, like do it now, do it never, right? So I think, whether that's your case or whether it isn't, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to, if something's not right where you're at, you'll feel it. Right? Like you'll feel that unsettled nature. And the question is really like, what are you going to do about it? And I feel like there's so many people right now that are not fulfilled. They're not real happy with whatever job they have or wherever they're at. And they probably feel like, because I think, again, personal branding's kind of hot and, they're hearing it and everybody's talking about it or whatever. And most of the people they're probably following are monetizing their personal brand through more of like an ad affiliate model. They may be an influencer or a speaker, author, whatever. So they think that, man, I'm not happy where I'm at. This personal branding thing sounds cool. But to do that, I'm going to need to become an influencer. I'm going to need to become a speaker and author, and oh, hey, I don't see how that can make sense where I'm at in my current job. So that must mean I got to start a side hustle or I got to exit. So they're immediately in a position of saying like, I'm not happy where I'm at, which isn't good. And this new path sounds good, but there's a ton of risk that comes with this path because most startups fail, right?
That's right.
Especially if you're only focusing on it on nights and weekends or whatever, right? And you have diluted focus, you're going to get diluted results, right? So, I mean, I'll say that one again, diluted focus, diluted results.
Amen.
And there is no shortage of shiny objects out there to be grabbing people's attention and thinking they need to start this type of business or this. So that's sad for me because I think that one, most people aren't happy. They think that's the only path, but they don't have that risk tolerance. So they just don't do anything and they're stuck where they're at. And a lot of other people are like, hey, I'm ready. And they do it on the side and then their venture fails because again, most startups fail. You're only focusing on it a small percentage of the time. Oftentimes you're trying to build a business that's not based on what you're great at. Yeah. I mean, you think building this personal brand / business is all about your social media following. All X's, right? And so I think at the core of it, why I'm so excited to kind of talk about this is one, because it ties back to my journey. But two, there's all these people that's like, hey, the first step is simply like, number one, being great at what you're doing, right? Like if, we call your personal brand is you, right? Your personal brand is not your social media following or being an author, speaker, influencer, or being, like starting a side hustle, right? Your personal brand is you, right? That is what it is. And another way to look at your personal brand is your reputation. Right. That's right. So what do people think about when they think of you? That's your reputation, right? So if we unpack that a little bit, it's like, what is actually the pathway to build an influential personal brand? We call it our reputation formula. Results times reach equals your reputation. Results times reach equals your reputation. So if we unpack that, right? All right, so we got results, we got reach, right? Both are equally important. But I think so many people immediately jump to reach. They want more people to know about them. They want to have the big following. They want whatever. But the foundation... That's dangerous if it's not what you want them to know. Right? Absolutely. So think about that, right? If you have this opportunity to take your message or whatever you're selling, right? Or whatever you're talking about and deliver it to a bunch of people, have big reach, but the information you're given is bad, you're about to inject a bunch of bad advice to a lot of people that is going to have a negative impact on what they're trying to do. Right. That's how you get a big negative reputation or a big bad reputation. That's right. So when you look at that, you can have a lot of reach and bad results. That's a big negative reputation, right? You can have, great results and small reach. That's a small positive reputation, right? So you can kind of play this a lot of different ways. What we want is you to have a big positive reputation. You're great at something. You've got amazing results and whatever it is you talk about or whatever you do for people, it works. You've seen it. It's market tested. It's proven. You've got testimonials. It's like you are great at what you do. Now let's make sure all of the right people know about you as the expert you are in this space, so you can have the biggest impact possible in this world, not to make a bunch of money, not to pump your ego up, but to change lives, right? Like that's what this is all about. And so really you need to understand it's about results and reach, but you don't need to get them mixed up, man. I mean, it all starts with being great at something. And I think so many people are chasing the shiny things and think they want to be this, that, and the other. And the foundation is like being disciplined, doing the hard work, studying, grinding, and having amazing results. And so if I look at my journey at Brand Builders Group, 5 years, the business has been up and running now, right? We got over 600 clients we service around the world, some major big names at
Incredible.
my you mentioned Lewis Howes, Tom and Lisa Billiou, Amy Porterfield, Eric Thomas, like the list goes on. But most of our clients are small businesses, medium-sized businesses, like whatever. But the bottom line is, I didn't feel, we all know in startups, right? You wear a lot of hats, right? It's like you're doing what you got to do to make things work in the early days. But even probably 2 years into the business, there were opportunities for me to start getting out there more and working on my reach. And I just struggled with it, to be honest with you. I was like, you know what? I don't feel convicted to really lean into this yet. And as I reflect back on it, it was because I needed to see the results more. I needed to really solidify that, man, we are working with a ton of people. We are having major impacts on their businesses, let alone their personal brands as a mechanism to drive awareness and growth of their business and help them serve more people. I needed to just settle into that more. I needed to work with more clients. I needed to be in the trenches of doing the work. Because at the end of the day, that's what gives you the conviction.
That's right.
Right? Like when you see the results and you know that, man, I can help some people. I now want to go out and do the hard work to reach more people, because it's not going to be easy, right? Like working on your reach is not easy. Like it takes time, patience, money, right? So, but I think now we're in this place where the business is starting to scale. We've served hundreds of people. I continue to work with clients, see the impact, positive impacts day in, day out. And I'm like, man, I need to go tell the world about this more. So that's where I've got good results. I'm great at what I do. And I believe the impact it has on businesses and individuals and helping them serve more people. And now I want to go out and advocate for it, just like I did back in the day, right? State government, I believed in the technology.
Yeah.
I knew the impact it could have like on organizations that embraced it and used it. And I wanted to go out and talk about it. I wanted to go out and advocate and speak on it. Right. And so I'm in that same space now here at Brand Builders Group and in this personal branding industry, because we're in the trenches. We're doing it for a ton of people. We're seeing the impact. And I'm like, yeah, now's the time to shift a little focus to the reach side of the equation. And again, not to help me make more money or help, get a bigger ego or more followers. It's simply, I want to serve more people. I want to help more people. And the way you do that is taking your expertise and don't make it the best kept secret, right?
That's
Get
right.
out and talk about it. And so it's cool. But just know that, results and reach are two parts of that equation to building an influential personal brand, and results is really the foundation. You got to get that tight first before you go out and start trying to market yourself and get a big social media following, because I think we know pretty quickly that'll blow up in your face, right? Like if you don't have it locked in.
Folks, if you're listening to us while you're on the road, I know you're probably, don't get your phone out and be looking for this guy on Instagram right now. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's on Instagram. It's at the Jeremy Weber. And also their URL is brandbuildersgroup.com. He's dropping knowledge like this all over the place on social. Once again, on Instagram, at Jeremy Weber, a founding member of the Brand Builders Group right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And man, we're just getting started. So buckle up, especially you need to have your seatbelt on if you're in the car. Buckle up with us, right?
Love it.
And so you were basically saying, somebody once told me, like, hey, they asked me the question, Nick, you need to make more money. Absolutely, right? So what do you like? So you got to go get it. And I think it was Pitbull I heard one time talking. He said, if you're chasing money, that means it's running from you, right? That's never a good recipe. So you don't chase anything; you attract it. you
Yeah,
attract
I
it,
love
right?
that.
And then I was asked, Nick, where is that money? And they were like, it's in other people's pockets. So the only way you're going to get it is if you deliver value, a good or a service that those people want that they will trade money for. And Troy McQuaig, the CEO of U.S. Health Group, taught us that income is the outcome, but not the objective.
I love that.
Right. So it's about what you can do for other people that drives the income. Right. So, as you guys heard, when you heard his story, like how many of you are going through the exact same thing, yet you're scared to take that leap to whatever it is that you're actually called to do, right? So, man, I'm excited. This is going exactly the way I knew it would. It's fantastic. So, as a brand builder's client, all right. So, I do have one regret about working with brand builders, and that's that I didn't work with them like 3 or 4 years earlier, right? That's the only one I got, though.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's we hear that a lot from our clients, just because, again, there are no shortage of options on different ways to do things, and everybody's trying to sell you something like the shortcut to get to this place, whatever. And so it's hard to discern what is proven, what isn't. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, like everybody's different, whether you're working with us or somebody else, like that's totally fine. But just, I mean, having a proven strategy, it's all about doing the right things in the right order at the right time. And without that kind of in place, there's no question that you're going to waste a lot of time, money, and effort. And again, the way I look at it is, yeah, you're wasting money, you're wasting time, but you're wasting your impact. Right. Again, it's all about that
Gosh.
Think about it. Like it's not about you, Nick, right? It's just not about me. It's about the people you're most powerfully positioned to serve. Like there's a ton of them out there.
That's right.
And if you're screwing around, right, chasing the trends, trying to do this, that, the other, like you're inefficient about your ability to take your gifts, what God has blessed you with, right, and get them in the minds of as many people as possible that need your help. That's right. We have this saying, it's like, the calling on your heart, this feeling you have inside you, right? That's like telling you, hey, there's something more. Like you shouldn't just settle for whatever you're doing. Like that feeling, it's actually, this may be a little woo-woo for some people, but like brace yourself. But that feeling, right, it's a signal being sent out by somebody else, like that needs your help, right? And for one reason or another, like you're the only person that can help them, right? Like, and don't think, hey, there's tons of people talking about this, that, or the other, I shouldn't talk about it. Think about how many people there are in the world, right? Think about, there are certain people that, hey, like Tony Robbins, I mean, he's amazing, right? Like talks about all this stuff, but there's some people that just like, they can't hear from him for whatever reason.
That's
like
right.
Maybe it's like his vibe, or maybe it's just geographic proximity or whatever. Like that dynamic is in place all the time. So there are certain people out there that can only receive that message, that help from you. And for a variety of reasons, like we just said. And so don't waste it, right? Like there's an opportunity for you to serve and for you to help them. But again, anytime you're messing around with all these different, approaches that aren't proven, and I'm not sitting here saying like what we do at Brain Builders Group is the only way to do it, right? And we're the only people in the industry, but we work really hard to kind of use proven processes and systems. And we have hundreds of people that we're constantly looking at what's working and what isn't to improve our curriculum, to make sure it's always up to date and using the latest technology and systems, right? But the bottom line is take it seriously.
Yeah. Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's about your career and your impact and all this, but it's more importantly, it's about the people you're here to serve, right? And the positive impact you can have on their lives and the world we live in. And you only get to live this life once, right? And don't let it go to waste.
Well, one of the things I was most blown away with was, and I knew it was there because we talked about it in passing, was the framework, the process in which you guys implement. And it's such a cool thing to experience because I mentioned before, you guys have many, many strategists and everybody's a little bit different. Like you were talking a second ago about like, maybe you just can't hear from Tony Robbins. Like I can remember I was a huge Dave Matthews fan in my teenage years, and still am. But like I can remember my dad couldn't listen to him because he didn't like his voice. Right. Yeah. So imagine if Dave never put out another record because because Mickey Hyder didn't like his voice.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's for everybody. And everybody has taste and all that kind of stuff. So I was constantly blown away at how you guys have been able to, with all your different strategists, pair in such a great way for people that are unique in a lot of ways, but at the same time, the framework is the same, no matter because again, no matter what you're doing, what industry you're in or whatever, there's all these common things that everybody has in common, or that everybody has alike in their success, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I think we have a little over 20 strategists now, and I mean these are people, their full-time job is being amazing at being a personal brand strategist and helping people build an influential personal brand. And so what's cool is we're practitioners of what we preach. We're drinking our own Kool-Aid or whatever you want to refer to it.
Everybody loves Kool-Aid.
Yeah. And so what's cool is phase 4, right? You talk about our process, our methodology. Phase 4 is all about scaling. So phase 1's branding, how we uniquely brand and position you in the market. Phase 2 is all about marketing. Phase 3 is all about selling. Phase 4 is scaling. So that's our 4-phase process. And so, if we look at how we're kind of practicing what we preach, we have good results. Our curriculum has been informed by 20 years of doing a lot of things the wrong way and learning, unfortunately, and then using that to kind of help, what took us about 20 years to do, help people do in 5 years or less. That's our goal, right? Through having a proven process. But how do you scale your results? That's very much where we're at right now is we've had good results. We're trying to scale those results, right? To serve more clients with more strategists.
That's right.
So just like you said, well, how do you do that? Well, one's having the right people, but the foundation of it is having a proven process, a proven methodology, that a proven playbook that everybody's working off of, right? And so that's at the core. It's kind of the brains of the operation, is that 4-phase process that all of our strategists are certified on and have different, there's a lot of stuff, right? I mean, everything from just, kind of creating content to delivering great presentations to writing books to publishing books to getting booked to do paid talks to scaling up your business, all the things, right? So, we have different strategists that specialize in different aspects of our curriculum, but the bottom line is we have a proven process that's the foundation, a proven playbook that everybody's working off of that lets us deliver consistent, great results at scale, which is, I don't care what kind of business you're running, that's the foundation of it, is you've got a proven way you do things, a proven way you deliver results for clients, and everybody's working off that operating system. And so as we bring this back, what's really cool is that reputation formula, results times reach. As we've been thinking about this more, right, it's phase 1, that branding and positioning phase is really about the results. Phase 2, 3, 4 are really about reach. How do we kind of help you reach more people? And so that's the cool thing is the first thing we do with clients is not hey, how can I get you on more stages, or how can I, kind of help you get more social media followers or more leads or whatever. It's really hey, if necessary, let's firm up how you do what you do. Because as we start helping you reach more people, if you don't have a solid foundation for how you scale up delivering results for people, the wheels are going to fall off the bus, right? The wheels are going to fall off your business, which is not going to be good. We want you to be able to go out and reach more people, serve more people. And as you start driving more and more traffic into this business, it can scale up just as much as it's throw as much traffic into this sucker as we can, because we've got proven processes that deliver proven results. We have great people that are certified on it that can deliver great results at scale as well. So it's really important to understand that, kind of when we look at our curriculum, part of it is results based. Part of it is helping you reach more people to drive more traffic. So, and we can dive more into all that based on where you want to go with this, but it's all part of helping you scale up and serve more people and drive more traffic back to whatever kind of business you're trying to grow, frankly.
Well, I think one of the you said that you were a nerd about certain things in the beginning, and you know what, man? Anybody that's good at anything, really good at it, is a nerd about that, whatever it is they're passionate about, or that they do.
Geeking out about it, right? So, it's kind of well, what's your hobby? It's well, man, I love what I do, and I spend any free time I have kind of trying to get into it, right? And learn more about it and be better at it, right?
As a matter of fact, if I wanted to learn how to play golf, one of the most popular nerds in golf is Tiger Woods, and that would be somebody that I would want to learn with and learn from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if everybody needs a good nerd in their life, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I would say, like when it comes to results, we always say that, kind of when we're looking at, if you're not getting good results, like I would say, like if you don't feel like, man, I'm not great at this, or like I'm doing it, but I'm not getting amazing results, you're not doing the right thing. Like there's this sweet balance we call, it's called our brand DNA helix. And we say when we're trying to figure out how to position you as an individual, how to position your business where it's unique to you, right? We're looking at this sweet intersection between what the world needs you to be. Like people are willing to pay you money because you're solving a real problem for them, right? Like that's important.
Absolutely.
But we want to balance that with what we say, what you're designed to be. It lights you up to do this. You love doing it. It doesn't feel like work, right? And we all know if you swing too far into the top of that helix, right, that means you may be making great money, but you're miserable.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that, right?
Been there.
Exactly. The opposite's true. Like you swing too far on the bottom, it's like, you think you're living your best life, but then you can't pay the bills.
That's
and then
right.
it's like, crap, I got to go back to doing what I don't love doing. So we're looking at that sweet intersection between the two where you're doing great work, you're solving real problems, you're making good money, but it's also lighting you up.
Yeah.
And so that's that what we call your uniqueness, right? And that brand DNA helix helps us kind of figure that out. So if something's off there, then you kind of get that figured out first. Like, what do you need to focus on? What do you need to be leaning into that's going to strike the right balance between those two? And then we can say, all right, well, how do you kind of create a proven process around taking what you're great at and using it to deliver great results for people? That would be like our captivating content.
Yeah.
How do we take, people can't do what they can't follow. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Man.
You may have ideas for days in your head, but if they're all over the place and they aren't logically structured for you to take your insights and expertise and deliver them at scale, it could be through one-on-one coaching. It could be through group coaching. It could be through an online course. It could be through a book. It could be through a keynote. All these different ways you distribute information and often monetize that information. But if it's not logically structured, it's going to break down. People are going to hear you talk or read your book, and they're not going to be able to apply what they just consumed. Thus, they're not going to see the results. Thus, they're not going to want to do business with you or refer more people into you. So really, once you find that sweet spot of your positioning, you then need to logically take all these great insights and expertise, this wisdom in your mind, logically structure it through kind of build out your intellectual property, your frameworks, your methodology. And then the next kind of that third step of phase one, or the results phase, or kind of that phase one brand positioning phase, is all about, hey, Nick, if we give you that chance to get in front of a bunch of your ideal clients, right? It could be on somebody's podcast, it could be doing a webinar, it could be being on a stage somewhere. What do you say, man? Like, what do you do to deliver so much value, know how to tell stories, right? Keep people engaged, but deliver a lot of good meat, good value as well.
Yeah.
To capitalize on those opportunities to, one, serve people, but get them to want to take that next step. That's your presentation or your pitch, right?
Yeah.
That's that third kind of key step of being able to deliver really good results in phase one. And then we ultimately shift out into some of those other phases, which is like, all right, cool, man. We got the foundation. You've got proven processes. You're doing what you were designed to do. You love doing it. You're getting killer results. You can do it at scale for people. You know what to say when you get in front of the right people. Let's now take that expertise and scale it up. Let's focus on the reach now. What are the things you need to be doing to get in front of more of your ideal clients or strategic referral partners or whoever to serve more people, which is, we can take the conversation there if we need to.
Well, I remember, I mentioned before the only regret I have about working with BBG is that we didn't do it years prior, right? And I remember, the reason that we took so long is because it was my wife and I were looking for this magical point in our journey where it was like, all right, we're there. It's time to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I never will forget it, honestly. We were at an inflection point where we were working on a pretty lengthy exit on a project, and we got in the car. And the first thing my wife did, she was driving that day, is put the phone on the mount and typed in the address we were going. She immediately used her GPS, and I was like, "That's what we need for our business journey.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys have been for us. It's literally like, so GPS, first thing that you guys ask me is, what's the end destination?
Yeah.
Right? Just like a GPS. And we wouldn't need a GPS if there wasn't weather and life and unknown variables that were going to come up. Because then what happens if unknown variables come up? The GPS reroutes, right? Yeah. And it tells you what the new arrival time is going to be and everything else. So for me, you guys have been my GPS system big time, except that GPS system also comes with an incredible network, right? That just speeds up the trip, everything. Like, so it's almost like you have this secret tunnel to get to your destination even faster.
The accelerator.
When you're doing that. So for me, like anytime I'm, like when we're preparing for our calls and stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm getting together with the GPS. What's it going to tell me? Have I took that part in the journey? Am I at that next step? It's been, I could say it's been fantastic. So, well,
just on that, I mean, speaking of journeys, right? We've mentioned our 4-phase process, which is just kind of how our curriculum is structured, our methodology. But just like you alluded to it, every client's different. Every business is different, right? Where you're trying to get to, how you're going to get there is a little bit different, right? So what we do is when we're working on that first step of working with us is called finding your brand DNA. Again, that first step of phase 1, we're really mapping out what's called your unique customer journey, Nick's unique path through a subset of those 4 phases to help Nick get to where he's trying to get to as quickly as possible. And even on your journey, we've had, hey, new opportunity popped up. We need to pivot. We need to figure it out. But the bottom line is, proven processes, but then tailored to the individual. It's a combination of both of those that really give you the best outcome at the end of the day. And so those are things like that, and whether you're working with us or somebody else, right? Some of the things we worked on is, who are you most powerfully positioned to serve, right? Like that thing we said. So who's your core target audience, right? It's the ideal client, your secondary kind of ideal client, tertiary ideal client. So just segmenting the market and understanding, hey, I can serve a bunch of people. I know you've struggled with this, right? Everybody does. Is there's so many people I could help. If you're trying to help all of them, you're not really helping any of them.
Oh man.
Right. And so it's like, hey, it's good. Like there are a lot of people you can serve. Let's get them up here. Let's map them out so we don't forget about them. But let's also get really clear on who your ideal client is, because if you don't take great care of them, you're not going to have the opportunity to serve those other segments of the market downstream. You're not going to get enough traction in the business and with your brand to fuel expanding with new products and services into those other segments of the market to serve other people. So map them all out, but who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3, et cetera, right? Understanding priority. So who are you focused on serving? How what problem are you solving for them?
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty. People pay for solutions to problems. The bigger the problem, often more they're willing to pay, right? If you're not clear on the problem you're solving for them, they're definitely not going to be clear on it, right? You got to be an advocate for that problem. You're out talking about, man, there are so many people. And again, this is what I'm doing. There are so many people that are great at what they do, Nick, but not enough people know about them. They're obscure, right? That's the problem we solve at Brand Builders Group is obscurity.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are great at what they do, and more of the right people knowing about them as the expert they are would help them personally with their own career.
That's right.
It would help the business they're focused on growing, whatever kind of business that is. But more importantly, it would help the people they're best positioned to serve. It would help them, reach more people and serve more people, right? So the bottom line is, got to get clear on who you're serving. Got to get clear on the problem you're solving for them. We got to get clear on how we're going to make some money doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And it doesn't come through ads and affiliates right out of the gate or being an influencer, right? Oftentimes making money and sustaining this thing is going to come through other mechanisms, which we can talk more about. But those are some of those foundational things that I know we did with you that really, I kind of look at it as like mapping out the overall strategy or the journey. Like, hey, what's the business plan? What's the strategy to help you get to where you want to get to? Right. So it's with clarity on some of those things: who we serving, what problem are we solving for them, how do we solve that problem, how are we making money doing this, both short term and long term? Because that's the other thing people struggle with. It's like, man, I could make money doing so many things.
Yeah.
Then they end up trying to sell a bunch of things, and then they halfway sell a bunch of things, and nothing works, right? And so it's similarly understanding, who you're serving and what are the priorities within those people you're serving. You have to do the same thing on what you're selling, right? It's like, hey, there's lots of ways to make money, but right now, this is my primary business model short term. And I'm going to do everything I can to drive as much traffic to this to help me get as much traction with it. And then, gradually you can diversify out and introduce new product or service offerings that help you monetize in new ways. But again, if you're trying to sell a bunch of different things to a bunch of different people, like it's going to be a rough road ahead.
Absolutely. That's you feel like the guy with the trench coat on. It's got
Open it up.
watches on one side.
I know you're disappointed. I got this coat on. You were hoping I was going to have some Rolexes and some watches underneath here. Sorry.
Well, if you're going to listen to somebody like, I don't know, when it comes to medical advice, in every surgeon or doctor's office, they have where they graduated from, the accredited school. Obviously when somebody graduated from Stanford or Harvard or something like that, it comes with like a certain type of value that people perceive that this person must be awesome at it, right? So, when you're something that I'm seeing a lot out there, and it's not to discredit anybody that's trying to help, but there's a lot on social media about people talking about understanding the value in building a personal brand. And there's a lot of summits and conferences and stuff built around that. And I guess, when I see that, I see people maybe looking at, if I can go to this conference, I'm going to get everything I need, and from a personal strategist, and a year-long journey, and a 2-day event from somebody that really didn't work with anybody and just kind of figured it out on their own. And that's great. You can learn from that, and that's one way to do it. But when, for me, the more and more people that I see with the BBG badge on, for me, those are trusted sources, very trusted sources. And anytime they're doing an event, or reach out to me to speak at their event, or go on their show or whatever, that's, for me, I immediately know we're like-minded, and I can help bring value to that as well. Yeah. What advice would you have to some people that are looking to do this before they spend? These conferences ain't cheap.
No, they aren't. So again, I don't want to sit here and act like, hey, Brand Builders Group's the only way to do this, whatever. There's lots of great people that do great work. But there's a few things that I would say you want to pay close attention to.
What more would they get out of those events had they had framework and a foundation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is we work with a lot of these people, right?
There it is.
And we're helping them basically build their business and helping them reach more people and do it in a scalable way. So what I would say is, number one, you need to look and make sure they've had results, right? And most of these people, if you're paying to go to their event, they're well known in their space and they have results, but you kind of alluded to it. What kind of results do they have, right? And if they've built a business that's around, being kind of an influencer and having a big platform, that's great. But it takes a while to build a big platform and, to be able to monetize through all of the eyeballs, the people following you. So you need a game plan for the years that are going to lead up to that. And does this person have experience with that type of monetization method as well? So it's a little bit of do they have results? But then I would say, what is their process? Because it's one thing for somebody to do it for themselves, but it's another thing to have a proven methodology that can scale to deliver similar results for other people, right? And so what's their methodology, right? We've talked about our 4-phase process. We take people through what is their process? What's their proven process that's well-structured, easy to follow, proven, right? That you're going to be able to tap into. So I'd just say, make sure there's some meat on the bone, right? It's easy for people to kind of hey, talk about it and hype it, but if you're not impressed, if you click through, whether you request a call with them or do whatever, that's the next step of doing business with them, and there's not a well thought out methodology. It's hey, here's the process we're going to take you through. It's proven. Here's all the other people we've done it for. Listen to them, their experience. That's a red flag right there, because you're kind of getting into a space where there's no structure, right? There's an art and a science to a lot of this, right? But, the science is what allows it to scale. And then the art is the magic. It's Nick, you're different than our other clients. And so we want to take our science, our structure, but let it flex a little bit to you and what's unique about you, right?
That's right.
But without that structure, it's hard to kind of help people at scale, right? Which is what they're selling. It's we're helping you build your brand. So what's their process to do it?
Yeah.
And then the last thing I would say is, this isn't easy, right? So to think you're going to go to, you're building a business, right? That's a lot. Again, people think personal brand, side hustle. No, it's like building your personal brand as a mechanism to drive traffic and growth to whatever business, you're trying to grow. Heck, I was doing it in the public sector. What are politicians? They're elected officials, right? They have big personal brands. So it's a mechanism to drive awareness of whatever it is you're trying to do and grow whatever it is you're focused on growing. But the bottom line is it's not easy. It's not easy to build a business. It's not easy to build a personal brand. And so the question then becomes, what resources do these people have available to help you? Because you're not going to learn everything you need to learn in a 1-day, 2-day, 10-day event. I don't care. You're not going to learn everything you need to know by watching a course, right?
Right.
It takes knowledge or reading a book, or the list goes on, right? It takes knowledge, which is often distributed through those mechanisms, but then it takes support, right? Like, who are the people that are going to help me? Who are going to help me answer my questions, right? Like I'm watching the videos, I read the book, I do whatever you tell me to do, but then it doesn't all make sense. So who can I be having the back and forth with? That's like a coach, right? So it'd be good to have some strategists, ideally, that work with you one-on-one if people can afford that. So that's an important piece.
I don't think they can afford not to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we have kind of our DIY tiers of working with us because just not everybody can afford to kind of work one-on-one. So ideally, if you're structuring your offer smart, you have kind of a lower price point do-it-yourself tier for the mass market. You have a 2 or 3 tiers, right, or higher price point for people that pay more, right? So, but the bottom line is you need to have access to people that know what the heck they're doing, that are using a proven methodology, that can get in the trenches with you, right? Because it's one thing to learn it, it's another thing to apply it. And so like if you don't have somebody that's willing to get in the trenches and work through those nuances of applying the best practices to your business and your personal brand, it's going to be hard. Like some people can be successful doing it themselves, right? But ideally, whoever it is you're thinking about working with, you need to, if they don't have teams, strategists, people that you can get access to work with and get your questions answered and be successful doing what they're trying to tell you to do, that's another kind of thing that may be like, hey, they're good, but they're just not ready to deliver their expertise at scale in a way that's going to help me, because again, things break down when you try to actually, when the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And then the last thing I'll say, and you alluded to it earlier, that X factor, we all know that the fastest path to build your platform is tapping into somebody else's audience, right? That's the shortcut.
That's
and
right.
So I think that what we've been so excited about is as our community has grown, right, over 600 people now, and growing, all of these people are influential people. Like, some more than others, but they're all influential. And so that means that they're doing the work day in and day out to reach more people. They've got good results. They're working on their reach in most cases, right? So they're reaching more and more people, which means they have more influence and bigger audiences, et cetera, right? And so our community is what we like to call like our X factor. People come for the content, they stay for the community. Right. And so you're just now leaning into this a little bit because we've been kind of like laying the foundation, but things are going to jump off like hot, when you start leaning into the network, into the community, identifying those strategic relationships within the community of being saying like, hey, I think we serve a similar audience, but we offer complementary products or services, we should talk.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's where it's like, man, I need to get you on my podcast, or get you on my podcast, or I spoke to this audience, right, at this conference. They're not going to bring me back, but I'm going to introduce them to you, like, so you can go speak, right? Or dude, I've got a big community that's already paying me something, but you're bringing some new knowledge to these people that I don't do. I'm going to bring you in and talk and do a guest webinar.
That's right.
A guest whatever. The list goes on around the opportunities, but the foundation of it is identifying those strategic connections, identifying those strategic relationships, which is not easy, right? That's hard. So our goal is like, as our community grows, we're in the middle of upgrading our membership platform that's going to have some really using some tech you know about. But we're going to have some really awesome like matching capabilities, which is like, hey, Nick, you're interested in this. You serve these people. You should know this person in the community or these 10 people or these 50 people, whatever it is, right? I think you guys should talk, right? And then so the technology is making it easier to kind of identify those strategic relationships within the community so you can then capitalize on them, right? Because it's not easy to sift through a directory of hundreds of people and, like make those decisions. So technology will help. But at the end of the day, that's the other thing I would say is like, to what extent are you, if you're looking at other people, going to be able to leverage a community of like-minded people to help you scale up, to help you accelerate kind of expanding your reach? Because if you can do that, if you've got great results and you've got a proven process to reach more people, and then you have these like shortcuts, these like, it's like the X Factor again, it's almost like a cheat code.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, when you have that, it's like things can get exciting quicker, which is what we all want, is we want to reach more people quicker, but it's a grind if you're organic social media and just working my network. Like you need to do those things, but when you can kind of tap into those strategic relationships to help you kind of like skip a few, steps on the ladder, like that's when it gets even more exciting. So those are a few of the things I would be looking at, whether you're working with us or working with anybody, right? Is, do they have results? Do they have a proven process that can scale? Do they have resources, group coaching, one-on-one, like other people that are going to help you do the work that's necessary to see results? And then are they strategically trying to connect you with other people through a community that are going to help you scale things up quicker? There may be more, but those are a few of the key ones, I would say.
Well, talking about the power of the network and like-minded people and like-minded services, I was blown away at the amount of opportunity that comes after you've clearly making money off services through the ads and affiliates programs. You guys have taught me so much about that, and how like everybody would say, like, I would love to, like, I in the old days, it was when I remember in the movie Ace Ventura, the whole thing was Dan Marino and isotoner gloves, right? What does a quarterback have to do with gloves?
Yeah.
Especially in Miami, it was almost like a big joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was only because Dan Marino was a awesome, amazing Hall of Fame quarterback that Isotoner wanted him to be the face of that, right? And at the end of the day, that to me, that's what ads and affiliates, it's kind of what it means to me, right? So, nobody would reach out to me until I had clearly defined what my personal brand was, who my core audience was, and so on and so forth, right? So, and it started opening up all these doors. So, and it's kind of crazy, like, if when somebody offers you an affiliate-based opportunity, some people are almost like they've never seen it before, and it's too good to be true. I don't know if I should do that. And I was that person too for a long time until I was taught different. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's like, once I let one in, they're coming from all over the place, and now I get to pick and choose who I want to be an affiliate of, based on what I believe in the company and who they're, what problem they solve.
Does it add value to your audience?
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So, when people get to that place, because it's becoming more and more of a common knowledge like talk. It's something you can see online when you look. What advice would you have for people when it comes to, everybody should want that, right?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want mailbox money?
Hey, there it is.
I mean, sign me up for some more mailbox money. Where do I sign up? So yeah, I mean, everybody wants mailbox money. That's kind of the way we think about passive income, right? From ads and affiliates. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to step back just a little bit. So what you had mentioned, kind of ads affiliates, is one way to monetize, make money in a business. Like we usually say monetize a personal brand, but it's just, these are ways to make money in a business, period. Yeah. Right. And so this is all the way back at the beginning of phase one, that first step, finding your brand DNA, is how are we going to make money with this sucker, short-term and long-term. And we say, hey, a good first step to know how to make money in a business is what are all the different ways to make money in a business. And we have an acronym. We love our acronyms at Brand Builders Group, as you're well aware. But it's called PAIDS, because we want you to get paid to All right. So
yeah, we covered that a lot in the in our previous episode, right?
Yeah.
So folks, I would encourage you guys to go back and check out the episode 1 with Jeremy, because we talked a lot in depth about the PAIDS acronym.
Yeah. And so just, I'll give it to you quick, but like P is products, right? So think about journals, swag, like physical type products. So PA, ads and affiliates. That's what you just talked about. We'll dive deeper into that. So I is information or information products. D is deals. So like brand deals and stuff. And then S is services, right? Time for money. So one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking, masterminds, anything that's more of a time for money exchange would be under services. So most people, they think ads, affiliates, the shiny object, mailbox money, sign me up for that. But the reality, and you've seen this firsthand, it takes a minute to be able to capitalize, to make money in that way. It requires a platform.
Yeah.
Right. So oftentimes it's like, what is my monetization strategy in the short term, which is usually through services or information products that's going to fund the business, kind of make sure we're making money while we build our platform, while we get more reach. And then if you do a good job monetizing that way, eventually you're going to have a lot of people. You're seeing this right now. A lot of people listening to this podcast, more and more people following you on social, et cetera.
Right.
So that means more traffic you can drive back to affiliate partners and get that mailbox money, or more people that want to sponsor your podcast and get in front of your audience with their product or service through their ad segment, right?
That's right.
So but again, it's key. Like I would say, everybody should definitely want to take advantage of and monetize through ads and affiliates. Just don't get it mixed up, right? Like generally speaking, that's going to come later in your journey. Don't get kind of distracted by the shiny object of being an influencer, having a bunch of followers and being able to monetize those followers in different ways, because it takes time to build up to that. So what's your game plan to make money in the short term so that you have that luxury later?
That's right.
And can get more mailbox money by driving your traffic, your audience back to other third-party product services that you believe in, and getting kind of some affiliate commissions off that.
It's so important. I always liked being the guy that people called when they, hey, we Nick's our insurance guy, but I got a question about social media, or I got a question about digital marketing, or I got a question about need a mechanic. Maybe Nick knows one. I just liked being the guy that people called when they needed stuff.
Yeah.
But it was very important. The only way to keep that, I couldn't send them to the mechanic that their car didn't work the next day, because you do that enough over and over again, then all of a sudden you lose credibility.
Your reputation.
That's right.
Your reputation. That's and what's interesting now that you bring that up, it's results, right? Like you may not be the one directly delivering the product or service, like the results for this person you referred, but your reputation is on the line by the partnerships you choose to make. So it's like, be really careful. Don't get blinded by the money again, right? Like it's like, hey, it could be big money, but that's going to blow up in your face real quick when you send a bunch of your people over to so-and-so and it doesn't work out.
That's right.
Boom. That's not good. So I think, again, it's all about being able to deliver good results so you can continue to have a great positive reputation and things don't kind of backfire on you.
All right. So I've got a couple of quick questions for me, but they may not be quick answers, right? So we covered some of these already. What are some of the biggest mistakes that personal brands make when it comes to their digital marketing strategy?
Yeah.
Because that's like what everybody's focused on right now, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is I'm going to answer it, but maybe in a creative way.
Come on.
I think that people place too much emphasis on their digital marketing strategy. So keep in mind, at the end of the day, we're saying, hey, building a personal brand is a way to serve more people. That's really what it's about. But really what we're saying, it's a way to drive more traffic and awareness to whatever business you're in, whatever organization you're in. You're promoting, you're driving growth, period. And so the first steps of doing that, right? One is being great at what you do. We've already talked about that, results. But now when it comes to the reach, which your question about digital marketing is more about reach. How do I reach more people? The first step in reach, right, in our brand builder journey is not getting your website awesome. It's not having a social media profile on the right platforms where your target audience hangs out. It's not starting a podcast, right? All these digital marketing things. The fastest path to take your results and get it in front of the right people is using your offline network. You know this in sales, right? Like, what do? Like, you want to sell something quick, you don't go post on social about it, right? If you're in the early days of like trying to build a business, who's your closest people that you know the best? Reach out to them. Make sure they know what you're doing now.
Yeah.
See if they have any ideas on what you do. You have any feedback on what I'm doing now? I'm trying to just kind of get some initial clients or whatever. And then it's like, hey, do you know anybody like XYZ that you could refer me to? I'm just trying to kind of get some early traction with this. So what I would say the first stages of reaching more people and expanding your platform and kind of is your offline network and knowing how to squeeze as much juice out of that offline network as possible. Then you scale it up with the online stuff. So starting to do more things on social, et cetera. But so like that's the first big mistake is people put too much emphasis on social media.
Yeah.
And you're not going to sell anything, especially in the early days. Now, if you have a big platform of a bunch of people that trust you, like you can throw something out there and you're probably going to sell a decent amount of it pretty quickly. But that's not what happens in the early days. So if you're trying to get traction with your business, trying to get traction with your brand, it's that offline sales, more outbound type stuff that still helps you build your personal brand, right? Yeah. Telling more people your network, getting them to introduce you to people so you can simply talk about what you do. That's more people that know about you. You are helping expand your reach. You're just using offline mechanisms to do it, which are going to be warmer relationships and help you get more quality leads quicker. And then you're going to scale that up with the online stuff that comes next. So again, getting that sequencing right. I think most people they think, well, social media, I don't really have to talk to anybody. I can just put something out there and it's not too awkward. That's why most people aren't good at sales. Like they're not willing to grind. And you know this better than most, right? You've lived a lot of that world.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the first thing is like when you're trying to expand your reach, don't immediately go online. Like squeeze as much juice out of your offline network as possible to get those referrals, get those leads, to get that traction. Then we're going to start scaling things up with the online stuff. So that's like the first biggest mistake. Do you want to actually dive into the online stuff or to kind of directly answer your question? Or?
I mean, sure. Well, I know like for me, and we had when we first got into the insurance space, I wasn't like, nobody knew us as those people, as insurance people, right? So, the fastest way to fruition for me is I got some people that trusted me as a person to give me a shot. And then once I had earned their business, those testimonials, that was all we marketed in the beginning, was another happy customer, another satisfied customer, another satrified customer. Absolutely. And then we had the words to back it up from their reviews and such, right? So
absolutely. As
a matter of fact, for 3 years, that was the secret sauce. It was the same message over and over again, and then we put power behind it and got it out, and then we started massively promoting it.
Right.
And then people were like, "Man, Nick, all I see is y'all's insurance company must be blowing up." It really wasn't at the time. It did, but it wasn't at the moment.
Yeah.
But that was the perception that people were, and we were able to we had their attention, and then we started to gain their trust.
So what's interesting about that is you had to get the results first.
That's right.
You had to get the results. Then you can scale up the results with getting more advanced with your reach. But we haven't talked about, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but our trends in personal branding study, right? Like that's an independent national research study we did at Brand Builders Group about, what are the latest trends in personal branding? And we'll put a
that was kind of where I was going. Yeah, that was kind of where I was going with this.
Yeah. So the number one thing, there's a lot of cool stats that came out of it, but to your point a second ago, the number one thing that helps kind of people to move and make a decision and buy, that helps with personal branding and trust is testimonials, right? So like, what is that? That is delivering real results for people. So you got to be good at you got to know what you're doing. You got to be able to take your knowledge and use it to deliver good results for people. But then you need to capture them saying something about it, right? So that's what helps you scale that up, right? Is like, man, Nick seems to know what he's doing. Like he's got a nice process. It's good, but like, I just don't know. Oh, well, there's a few people over here that are kind of talking about their experience with Nick. Like, Wow. So again, the data, our study showed that those testimonials are the top thing that get people to take that next step. So it's fundamental, right? There were some other really cool things in there. About 74% of Americans are more likely to trust somebody with an established personal brand, right? Trust is fundamental to doing anything.
Absolutely.
Right? So having an established, well-known personal brand is fundamental to establishing trust at scale, right? And increasing trust with the people you're best positioned to serve. 82% of Americans said that companies are more influential if one or more of their executives, high-level people in the company, have an established personal brand. And then the last one, which we all love, is I think it was 58% of Americans said they'd be willing to invest more money. I will give you more of my money, Nick. Right? Where do I give you more of my dollars? Right?
Oh man.
If they know the individual personally, right? If they have a personal relationship,
That's right.
via the personal brand with somebody. So again, that doesn't mean, Nick, you have to have a personal brand lifestyle business of speaker, author, influencer, right? You could have any type of business, but consumers want to know the individuals behind the business. And when they know the individuals, who they're really going to do business with, right? People do business with people at the end of the day, not some business. They do it via the business, but they're actually transacting with individuals. So the more they know you, like you, that ultimately leads to trusting you, right? The more likely they are going to want to take that next step with you and do business with you, right? So it's fundamental for any type of business to be mindful of this as a way to grow up their business, serve more people, and really help differentiate your business from the competition. Like, there's a lot of people that sell insurance, right? A lot of people that do real estate, like whatever. There's tons of people that are really marketing the same product service. What's truly different about one business from the other? It's the individuals within it. So what's your strategy to embrace those great minds, those great individuals, and get them out there more so you can differentiate your business from the competition and kind of accelerate building trust with those prospects and help grow your business?
I can't tell you how valuable it was when in our first talks about specifically myself and my journey. When you're asking me all those questions, the easiest thing for me to do was reference some folks that were already doing what I wanted to do in some shape, form, or fashion, or exactly what it was, right? And one of the coolest ones was, I love Lewis House, and he's a former professional athlete, had a major identity crisis after sports, and I was just able to relate to so many aspects of his journey. And when I mentioned that to you, you immediately said, "Well, Nick, when he was at this point in his journey, he did these are the things that he did to get to the places that he is now." And it was so easy to go home and explain that to my family and my partners and all the people in my life about the direction that we were going and why, because I had that reference point. And I nobody is really reinventing doing something for the first time anymore at this point. I don't think.
No, I don't think so. There are true breakthroughs and innovative ideas and concepts, but most of them are not totally original, right?
That's right.
But that's good. Like, there's proven processes,
that's right,
proven business models, right? That we can see they do work, and here's what allowed it to work, and let's use that to help this new person head down a similar path, right? So it's good, at the end of the day. Well,
is there what else have we missed when it comes to again, it's funny if you're raising a child and they're advanced in school, you get them extra help. If they're raising a child and they're behind in school, you get them extra help. If your kid's if they're playing sports, you get them private lessons. You do all these things, but we don't necessarily do those things for ourselves. We can find the money for our kids to get lessons and stuff, but we can't find the money to help ourselves grow. Where's the disconnect? Because it's very common practice in everywhere except for when for some reason we become an adult, we stop doing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of reasons. One reason I would say is, some people may feel that it's kind of selfish, right? Like, I'm spending money on me, and why, and
that's a great point.
And it may just be like, hey, I need to take care of my employees, or I need to take care of my family, or whatever, and they don't see investments in themselves as actually. It's kind of like working out. it's kind of like, hey, well, making time to work out or eat healthy, right? Or invest in yourself through coaching or whatever it is. Like, it's actually one of those compounding things that, making investments in yourself actually helps you better serve the people around you. And until you get that straight in your mind, you can see it as being selfish. Like, man, I shouldn't take the time for myself, or I shouldn't take that money and invest in myself because I need to do it for X. But it's like, when you eventually, if you keep neglecting yourself, it starts having a negative domino effect on those people around you. So there's a balance with it all. But what I would just say is, like, when you think of it as investments, not for yourself, but for the people you're best positioned to serve, could be your family, could be your business, your employees, your clients that you're trying to get in front of more, that makes it a little bit easier. It's really just a strategic investment to help you serve more people, especially this personal branding stuff. But you can apply that to eating right, working out, like doing whatever. But I think when you think of it as a strategic investment in yourself so you can serve more people, it's really just, it's not about you. It's about the people you're trying to get in front of. And how do you get in front of as many people that you're best positioned to serve as quickly as possible and avoid a lot of the mistakes? Because the reality is, you may choose to not make the investment like now, and that's fine. You're going to make it some way or the other by wasting time, money, effort.
That's right.
Right. So it's kind of like one way or the other, you're spending the money. Would you rather save some time, save some money by being really efficient about how to get to where you're trying to get to?
Yeah.
Again, whether you're working with us or working with anybody, right? Like, this is not a big promo pitch for Brand Builders Group, but again, I think you need to be thinking about that. Regardless.
Well, folks, like, this is a good hot topic for me, because we've talked about this before, and a lot of folks disagree. Oh no, you got to take care of others first. The selfish point is to your point. So the next time you're on an airplane and they tell you to put on the oxygen mask drop, they don't say put it on somebody else first, because if you're passed out, you can't do that.
Absolutely.
If you've got a troubled child, and I know a lot of families do this. A lot of parents do this. They put the kids over the relationship with their spouse. And at the end of the day, if the relationship is not the foundation and it falls, then what is the kid like? I truly don't think that, and it's nothing against split households, but I don't think any child would want that, right? Yeah. They do great with it, and it's okay. And to each his own. However, my wife and I have figured out that, we are the most important piece, because that is the most important part to our kids.
Absolutely.
So, by serving yourself, all you're doing is putting yourself in a position to better serve others. And you could take it to the extreme, the wrong direction.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a balance to it all, but I love the oxygen mask on the plane. It's a prime example, right?
That's right. And so next time you're on Southwest, and that was, I learned that from a joke. They were great with their humor on the planes and stuff. And that was what they said, is like, so those of you unselfish people that are going to help everybody else first, I promise you can't do it when you're passed out on the floor. So and I was like, ding, ding, ding. Like,
makes
so
sense.
Life's happening to us all the time. We're just not always paying attention.
Yeah.
We're not always paying attention. So anything else, man, like, this has been fantastic. I could keep you here for another 2-3 hours. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a volume 3, an episode 3, no doubt. But man, anything else? Because, like, again, this is a very hot topic. Everybody will agree. Your teachers have a big impact on your life, both positive and negative. You remember the great ones and you remember the not so great ones, right? So,
yeah.
When it comes to doing these things, mistakes are just a part of the journey. But the one thing I can tell you in my experience is my journey has been fast tracked so much by working with BBG. I'm extremely grateful for the relationships and everything else, and the clarity. It just gives me so much clarity. And again, iron sharpens iron. I want to be around people that push me, that I strive to be, and I can do that by being surrounded by people in BBG, right? So I love the events. It's just a very energizing. It's like feeds the soul for me a little bit when I get around those people and everybody's excited and growing.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're in a business where it's a solopreneur or early stage business where you don't have a lot of people, it can definitely be isolating. It can be lonely, right? So having that community to plug into, whether it's ours or another one, is foundational. But I think a couple of things I would lead leave people with is one, hopefully through this, you've realized we've kind of nailed this, with a hammer multiple times, but it's kind of like, make sure you understand that personal branding is really a mechanism for an individual that's great at something to serve more people, right? It's not meaning, it doesn't mean you got to start a new business, a side hustle. It doesn't mean you're just focused on a social media strategy and having more followers. It doesn't mean you got to be a speaker, an author, an influencer, right?
Yeah.
Like personal branding is something that's available to anybody. Now, if you're somebody like one of my old computer science buddies that's like, don't put me in front of anybody,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going to have great results, but you're not going to have great reach. You're going to have a big impact in this world, right? You're going to be great at what you do, but you're not going to be known by a ton of people. And that's totally fine. That's your zone of genius. Like
you just got to put your stuff in front of people that are let the person that's known by a lot of people push your stuff.
Push your stuff, exactly. But for people that are great at something and feel like there's more, bigger impact they can have, know that that's available right now where you're at. It takes a little bit of strategy, but you can take steps to build a more influential personal brand, a more well-known personal brand, more importantly, serve more people in whatever role you're in right now. And it can help you personally kind of move up the career ladder, have more success, get more recognition, right? It can help your business grow, help you make more money, all these things, right? But that's not really what it's all about at the end of the day. I go back to what I said earlier, like the why you should do this, the why you should be making the investments, whether it's with us or with somebody else, why you should take this seriously is that, again, there's people out there that can only be helped by you.
That's it. That's it.
Right. And I think that's, if you want to talk, everybody talks about fulfillment and all this, that, the other. We get to work with amazing clients, right? And I'm learning from them all the time too, right? And one thing that's become more and more clear to me with working with a lot of clients that are helping people find more fulfillment and happiness is it's got to be about somebody else.
That's right.
Like when you lock in on I can serve people, there are people out there that need my help. And every day I sit here and not do anything or take an inefficient approach at this, I'm delaying my ability to have positive impact on those people and help them break free from whatever it is they're struggling with and get to another place. And so I think when you really lock into that, is like, I can have big impact, I can serve more people, I can help more people. And that's why I do this. And like, yeah, I may make more money or get more recognition or like whatever, those are great, but that's not really why I do it.
Right.
Like that's what it's all about. And that's why people should take this seriously and just know that there's strategic steps you can take where you're at to move up the career ladder in an organization or drive more growth to whatever business you're in, or maybe eventually start your own business if you need to, right?
That's right.
Those are kind of little nuances that become clear down the road, but there's steps you can take and should take right now to take your knowledge and share it with more people to have a bigger impact on this world.
Man, and it's from the schools that the old school was a great school, and they taught serve others first. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna use my son as an example, kind of like to kind of bring this all full circle. So, I told my son, the story I tell is when he was like 4 and he was doing the first Christmas cantata at church.
I love it.
And he was a nervous wreck backstage. And the only thing I knew to tell him was in a previous conversation, my son, since he was old enough to talk, he always wanted to be like on stage, on a field, like entertaining people, whether it be sports, music. He hadn't figured that part out yet, but that's what he wants to do. And I asked him why, and it was because he said he wanted to make people feel the way that his heroes make him feel. Right? So he was shy at this Christmas cantata, and my wife is doing the mom thing, trying to make him feel better. And I just looked at him straight up and I was like, dude, like, you're selfish. I told a 4-year-old he was selfish that was scared to death to go on stage. And Rihanna gave me those big eyes. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. Stay with me. I was like, who are you singing for, man? And he was like, well, I'm singing for them. I'm like, well, then why are you making it about you?
That's
you know
good.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So then we immediately focused on what can you do to make yourself feel better on stage in front of people, because that's how you're going to serve them. You can't serve them as good. We all agreed. If you're nervous to be out there, you're not going to perform as well. You got to get comfortable doing what you're doing. So how does he get comfortable? Through repetition, right? Yeah. Through habits, through working on it, through self-growth on that craft of doing that, right? So going back to the oxygen mask and bringing it full circle, like, it is actually like, caring so much about what others think, like in being shy or whatever it may, however you want to label it, that's more selfish to me than doing the work to get good at it so you can serve your purpose and truly do that, right?
I mean, even like prepping for this, getting ready to come in here, like there's a little bit of nerves, right? We're about the on-air signs about to come on. And
that's right.
And it's, maybe it's Rory at our company. He's got so many great one-liners, but somebody said it, but it's like, it's hard to be nervous when you're focused on service, right? Like, and it's like, that's what it's all about is like, hey man, this isn't about me. Like, I think there's people out there, your audience, there's tons of them that are great at what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like not enough of the right people know about them as the expert they are at what they do.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so that's what it's about. Like we're just trying to serve, try to help a little bit we can in an hour and a half or whatever. But yeah, you're totally right. When you're just focused on who you're serving, like it's those nerves fall away.
That's right. And we figured out too, it wasn't the fear of failure that he was scared about. It was the fear of the judgment of the failure that he cared about. So again, it was about those people, and it was just aimed just slightly in the wrong direction,
Absolutely.
And a miss is a miss. And it's important, that if you're passionate about what you do, that you want to go out there and win, and you want to have a big personal influence, because if you truly believe in what you do, and you truly believe that there's a market that needs you, well, like, guess what? If they need you, then maybe they're learning from the wrong person. So like, you got to go out there and compete. Like, so winning is absolutely important. That was something Ed Milet had said, when I was at an event, listening to him with you, actually, he said, fun is fun, but winning's more fun than fun is fun.
Amen. You
know what I mean? And there's I guess that's the reason you keep score. It is important.
Absolutely. And again, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers of followers or whatever, right? And I would just say, because it's a grind, right? Like, having a bigger when you start working on your reach, right, to serve more people, it's a grind, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're doing the offline, then doing the online, all the things we talk about, like it takes patience, it takes a lot of work. And I would just encourage people, like in the middle of the grind, in the middle of the struggle, like, you may think, man, 100 followers or 250, 1,000 followers, like this is nothing, but like those are 1,000 lives. Think about that. Like if you had the opportunity to be in a room with 1,000 people, 500 people, 100 people.
That's a great responsibility.
Right? It's like those are real lives that you have the opportunity. You're fortunate enough to be able to speak into their life and help them, right? Like, be proud of that. Be thankful for that, right? Yeah, it's going to be great when you get hundreds of thousands or whatever the number is, but like again, you're focusing on the wrong stuff, man. And when you focus on that, it's counterproductive, right? It keeps you from doing the good work, having the positive impacts that you can have. So it's like, be thankful for every life you can touch, right? Don't take it for granted, right? Because again, you don't know how, maybe like me, something crazy happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like I got bigger problems now. Like I'm fighting for my life, right? So it's like, be thankful. Gratitude is such an important kind of principle to just like help us keep the right mindset, the right heart in the middle of just doing this thing called life.
Well, folks, once again, we were with a founding partner of the Brand Builders Group here in Nashville, Jeremy Weber, on Instagram at @TheJeremyWeber, brandbuildersgroup.com. Brother, I'm so happy and thankful that you are telling your story more and getting it out there, because you, in your situation, some of those might have been, the thoughts that were going through your mind were probably some of the scariest things. And I can remember we went out to eat downtown one time, and we went out to eat downtown because you used to have to ride the train. Like, literally, like your wife knew to the minute when you were going to go every day for a long time. It was very structured. And I remember when you guys were going through some of those things you had mentioned, the unknown and the fear that comes along with some of those things. But like, folks, no matter your circumstances do not define you, right? You do. And you use that as some people might have said, hey, that's all the reason to stay in the safe spot. But you guys took it as a reason to take that leap. And you used a what could have been a tragic circumstance and turned it into an amazing positive that's affecting a lot of other people. So I'm so happy to hear you telling your story, man. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the opportunity to just come on here, get some time with you, get to share a little bit of what I hope has been helpful for your audience. And I would just encourage everybody, like hopefully this is a first step of just valuable. Hopefully you learn something from this and can take it and make some better tactical steps in whatever it is you're working on. Whether it's working with us or whether it's working with somebody else, that doesn't really matter with me. I think what's important is that surround yourself with the right people, with the right information to be able to move forward efficiently in whatever it is you're doing. And the last thing I'll say is, if anybody wants to, we do this. It's a totally free thing. It's a free brand strategy call. It's a 1-hour call with one of our strategists. So they can go, we'll put this in the show notes, I think, too, just so people can hear it. It's freebrandcall.com/JW. And you can just request to get a free personal brand, like a free 1-hour strategy call. We'll kind of understand, like, hey, what it is you're trying to work on. Like, hey, let us help you as much as we can in an hour with just like some strategic adjustments to move forward. So take advantage of that if you want to. And we'll have tons of other stuff linked up in the show notes, like to that, and the trends in personal branding study we did, and different things, if you want to just take advantage of some of that.
So when it comes to that call, I'll give you, this is exactly what it is. So there's a big cliff right out there, and you want to look over it, right? So you don't get too close to the edge because of fear, right? What that call does is it lets you walk straight to the edge and lets you know what is required. Because that was the biggest thing, is like, I knew I wanted to work with you guys, but I didn't take the time to really like look into it to figure out what the actions needed to be taken to make it happen. And that actually helped me out with my timeline and affordability and everything, right? So that call just made it crystal clear. So it let me know, like, at the end of the day, if I was standing way away from that edge, I didn't know what I was jumping into. But after that call, I was standing right on the edge, looking straight down. I knew exactly what it was, and I knew I could jump with confidence, right? So
and I mean, again, most people that take us up on that don't work with us, right? I mean, that's not the objective of the call, right?
Right.
We've talked a little bit about our 4-phase process, so you'll actually get to dive deeper into that just to understand, like, what is this roadmap? What is this blueprint? Like, how do you get from where you're at to where you want to get to more efficiently and effectively, right? So we'll kind of unpack that in more detail on those calls and just try to help as much as we can. And then eventually where it goes from there is secondary to that. So
it's got to be a fit both ways. You guys are great about that.
Yeah, and we're particular about who we work with. I'm glad you brought that up. Is like, we're our we call it our avatar persona. This is like, how do you characterize like your ideal client?
Yes.
It's something we help our clients do, obviously. But our ideal client, because again, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid here, is a mission-driven messenger, right? Somebody, somebody that is great at what they do, and what they do has a positive impact on this world. We're not trying to help expand the reach of people that are being divisive and doing negative. Like, that's the last thing we want. So we're focused on working with mission-driven messengers, helping people that are great at what they do, and helping them have a bigger positive impact in this world. And obviously, as part of doing that, that's driving growth of their business and doing all these things. But
that's right.
We're particular about who we work with.
Well, folks, anytime you're looking into potential partners, companies, whatever it may be, here's what I can tell you, man. Working with Jeremy has been great. I'm proud to call him a friend. But the founders of the company, Rory and AJ, are as good as it gets, man. So shout out to those guys, staying true to everything. Like, they're just awesome people, great energy, and I just can't say enough good things about it. So, Jeremy, thanks again for hanging on me, man. There's definitely going to be a part 3, because like, I'm just getting started on this. I'm just saying. Yeah, no,
I'll come back as often as your audience wants to hear, and I'd love, I don't know whether it's in the comments or wherever they can share, is just, like, when you think about the 4 phases, uniquely branding and positioning, or marketing, or selling, or scaling up, like, where do people want to take a deeper dive? And we can come back and do a 2, 3, 4. Like, we keep running with it as long as we need to, but we'll dive deeper into whatever area of this whole journey that people are interested in learning more about. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Well, folks, once again, big thanks to Jeremy Weber, founding member of the Brand Builders Group right here in Nashville. BrandBuildersGroup.com, on Instagram at the Jeremy Weber. And what was the URL for that free call one more time?
Yeah, freebrandcall.com/JW. And we'll link it in the show notes.
There you go. But all this is in the show notes, folks. I told you it was going to be a good one. And I'm just going to go on ahead and we like to pay it forward. So you're welcome, right?
I love it.
Well, folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.